Hello everyone, welcome to your favorite podcast, Willy Willy Today. I am your host, Saintera Sude Temelara. It's so good to be back on the podcast again. Thank you for your unrelenting support, from the likes to the sharing to the commenting. Thank you so much for always being there. So let's just get a chair, grab a cup of coffee or water or anything we can relax with and just enjoy. I am going to be talking about different things I've interacted with. I've been doing some learnings over the days, weeks, things I've been coming into interaction with. So I'll be telling us about it. Today I'm going to talk about emergency and disaster. I know it's a common topic in the safety ecosystem, medical ecosystem, things that deal with health and safety, basically health and safety and environment, something we know about. I just want to share for people that don't really know, for people that are interested in knowing. That's what we're going to be talking about. So we have emergency and disaster, causes of emergency and disaster, effect of emergencies and disasters, disaster management cycle, steps in disaster management. That's what we're going to be talking about. So let's get started. Please relax and enjoy. So when people ask what is emergency is a situation that poses an immediate risk to health, life, property, or environment. Unforeseen situations, things that you never prepare for, or things that you never imagine that would happen. That's what emergency, and they always need immediate attention. But emergency is something that has different definition in different spaces depending on the context of what we're talking about. For example, United Nations High Commission for Refugees, they have their definition of emergency, which is quite interesting. So please hear me out. So they define it as any situation in which the life or well-being of people, that is, refugees, will be threatened unless immediate and appropriate action is taken, which demands extraordinary response and exceptional measures. It's still a general definition as far as I'm concerned. It's just that it's being tailored to refugees, basically. That's my own take on it. We are still going to dive into disaster because two of them are like unfortunate scenarios and situations, but one is on a smaller scale, while the other is on a larger scale. But we'll get to that. So let's just still hold on. There's also a definition by Environmental Health Emergency Response Plan of Georgia, State Department of Public Health. That's 2011. They define emergency as an unforeseen combination of circumstances or resulting state that calls for immediate action. The key point in all this definition is 1. Immediate, unforeseen, unplanned. Immediate action, unforeseen. That's like the basic keys that I see here, but they are just being tailored according to context, spaces, and environment. That's what I see it as. WHO defines emergency as any public health situation endangering life or health of a significant number of people and demanding immediate action. It is just still something that causes something. It is still something that has effect on people, on the environment, or the ecosystem, which requires immediate action. That's what the highlight for me is immediate action. What else? Poses risk to health, properties. So I believe you get that. And we'll just dive into hazard. There's something called hazard, And when you define hazard is just like a phenomenon, a situation that has potentials to cause destruction or damage to human and their environment. Something that can cause something that can cause a damage to your environment, to people around you, to things. It has potential. That's just the basic word of that hazard. It has potential. While disaster is a large-scale event that overwhelms local resources, causing widespread damage, requiring larger response. Emergency is something that it requires immediate action. It might not spread. It might just be a particular person, a particular space. But disaster goes longer than that. It spreads wider than that. So it requires a larger resource, more than local responses. It requires a larger resources and larger response for it. While emergency is just small scale. For example, emergency is when someone just suddenly collapses. That's an emergency. It needs immediate action. And we have to get something to be done. Either you call in emergency services. Before the emergency services come, you have to, clear the space area, make sure the person is free from dangerous objects, lie them down. Maybe you have to open their shirt. Sometimes you have to do a CPR. It depends on what it is. But while you're doing that, you've called out for help. Immediate action is coming. But there's also an immediate action before the immediate action. That's like the first grade immediate action. That's first aid before the major and immediate action comes in. One thing we should realize is that both of them are catastrophic. I'm sorry, both of them are catastrophic. Pardon me, my English. Both of them are catastrophic in nature. They are tragic, they are calamities, they are predicaments. Both of them has the same thing, but just one is on a larger scale while the other one is on a smaller scale. I'm sure we've been able to wrap our heads around emergency, disaster, and hazard. So you can always have it at the back of your mind when someone mentions emergency. That is something that needs immediate and local response, within house response, while disaster is something that goes beyond local response, like a wide range of responses. So you've got that. Let's move on. We have types of emergencies and disasters. There is the natural disaster and emergency, and this is due to natural causes. Earthquakes, volcanoes, there's volcano eruptions, landslides, tornadoes, hurricane, heat wave, drought, flood. I was opportune to watch a lot of cartoons, so I know some things when I say. For example, Tarzan. There's a particular Tarzan cartoon then, I think in like the 90s, like 1999, there was one particular one that I watched. Tarzan had volcanic eruptions. They had volcanic eruptions, so the magma, all of those things I know, so I have an idea of what volcanic eruption is. Then for tornadoes, tsunamis, I think Sinbad had one. I think it was tornado. And the interesting part is he had tornado inside the seas. Don't ask me how, but I remember that particular scenario. And because of that woman, that was witch, the water witch that was to manipulate Sinbad. So something happened around that side. But I think also Hercules had that tsunami thingy too, where Hades was trying to just mess up things and misbehave. He released those underground demons that have been locked out because he wants to rule, so he released them from their dungeon, in quote. So let's come back to real life situations now. We also have biological events like plagues, epidemics. Remember COVID. We had some places have malaria, some places have flu, So those kind of things also, they are disasters that are basically biological in nature. Then we move to man-made disasters and emergencies. This happens due to activities in the environment, the things we do in the environment, from forest fires to oil spillage to fire breakout to indoor air pollution. Those kind of things can cause disasters or emergencies. For example, indoor air pollution, you put your generator inside your passage. What do you expect? And the exhaust pipe is facing your window, so definitely you're going to have poisoning. Your hair is going to be poisoned. Before you know, there's choking, then blood doesn't flow well, then all of those things. There's a passing out and dying. So those things are caused by man's activities, because it's you that use your hand to buy a generator, and it is still you that puts the generator by your window, and it is still you that allow the pipe side to face your window. So it's because of your activities that things like that happen. So I believe we now understand something like that. We move to causes of disasters and emergencies. Natural causes like climate change, that is any change in climate over time due to natural or human activity, just like ozone layer depletion. That's when we have a lot of poisonous gases, dangerous gases. That's green no is it greenhouse gases being exposed to the atmosphere. Before you know it, it starts weakening the ozone layer, which is supposed to protect us from the direct ray, ultraviolet ray coming from the sun. When we keep having the escape of these gases into the atmosphere, it begins to weaken and create holes in the ozone layer. Before you know, it get weakened and the holes begin to grow bigger and bigger. Then the next thing you know is the direct rays from the sun begins to come to the earth and on our skin, and causes different types of skin disorders like cancer also. So those are the kind of things that we're talking about. Acidic rain. I remember one time when I used to hear acidic rain, I had a vivid imagination of acidic rain when it starts falling and it touches the skin, and you know how acid go started having this idea of start doing on my body. I had that bad imagination, and I'm like, if it touches the plant, it's going to do on the plant, and the whole thing is going to disfigure and get destroyed. That was what I had in my head until I found out that it's just the mixture of some gases with water. From there, it causes gradual ailments, weakening of what it comes in contact with. Like maybe, for example, plants, they absorb it, it weakens them, it gives them stunts growth. Humans, when we absorb it, causes different kind of ailments. So that's what I finally found out. Thank you for good knowledge, or else I would have still held on to that kind of idea though. But we thank God that we grew. Thank God for growth. So we have man-made disasters and emergencies. Those are like deforestation, when we cut off our trees without planting them back. So it allows the washing away of top soils, that's top layer of the soil, which are supposed to have nutrients that would go into the soil. But because of deforestation, the whole place is empty, nothing is tapping water, nothing is tapping nutrients. It washes off. Sometimes it washes off seeds that have been planted into the soil, takes them off. There's landslides. I also recently found out that road traffic accidents is also an example of man-made disease and emergency. I just found out too. So yes, we just found out. Not obeying traffic lights, driving recklessly, going beyond speed limits. Well, Lagos State now has cameras that will catch you, and if they catch you, you will pay. there's nowhere you're running to, my brother and my sister. So let's drive safely. It's actually very important for us to drive safely because of ourselves, because of people around us, not to become mad people on the road. So I found out that that's also part of man-made disease and emergency causes of man-made disease. You get what I mean? We also have pollution, we have poor sanitation. If you don't, if you have poor sanitation, there's going to be spread of infections and diseases, which can lead to epidemic, can lead to pandemic, all those things. So part of it. So we move to the effects of emergencies and disaster. There are different types of effects. We have the social effect, which affects the social well-being and degrades quality of life. Indicators that gives us that kind of results, or the statistics, is we have wealth, we have employment, we have amenities, we have health, we have recreation and leisure. And number 2, we have economic environments being affected. The first one is social environment, second one is economic environment. Under economic environment, we have loss of livelihoods, we have reduction of cash flow, nobody's buying, nobody's selling because everywhere is upside down. There's fire outbreaks, maybe there's an accident, so activities are reduced or stopped. Maybe a place that had flooding, the goods you want to sell are all washed away by water. The person that wants to buy can't have access to go and buy because the whole place is flooded. If they are not careful, they are also in danger going to buy. So the buying and selling business is reduced or stopped. We have loss of tourism activities. If the place is flooded, obviously you can't have access into the tourism arena, the tourism arena, you can't have access to it. We have loss of employment. You can't employ, people want to lay off people because they have a lot to do, they have renovations to make, damages the whole thing, so there has to be like a restructuring, re-strategizing, different things like that, so they can make one lose their job. We have the natural environment, that's the soil, degrading of the soil structure. We have the built environment, that's our ecosystem, how we've structured it. There's going to be like a change in the environment. So that's that about the effect of emergencies and disaster. I hope you are still with me, catching up, or having imaginations in our head of what I'm trying to say. I know that you can picture that already in our heads and our minds. So move to disaster management cycle. When we talk about cycle is about something that goes round and round and round, not necessarily having a break or a stop. It's just like a circle. It keeps rotating without a break. So there is a way disaster management has that rotation that makes it effective. It keeps moving. So when they ask you what is disaster management cycle, it is just a cycle that allows us to work in a structured, focused, straightforward, and precise way that is effective and efficient. It's just a way to keep things moving, to keep things effective, to make change happen, to make improvement. In the cycle, we have 4 basic stuff. We have the mitigation, we have the preparedness, we have the response, and recovery. So those are the phases of this cycle. Those are the 4 things that go around to have an effective disaster management. We'll start with mitigation. Mitigation is actually like an effort to reduce loss of lives and properties by lessening the impact of disaster. It majorly focuses on long-term measures for reducing or eliminating risk. Those are like the long-term things you do to just avoid or to soften a risk or to eliminate a risk. I'm gonna give us a vivid example concerning these phases. I'm going to use a particular example to just explain it later on. So just still stay with me. Your mind, please let it be on me. We move to preparedness. This is like a continuous cycle of planning, managing, organizing, training, equipping activities to ensure efficiency and effectiveness in emergency disaster situations. So these are the things we do to prepare towards that particular situation, just in case it comes up. There's a slogan that Boy Scouts have. They say, "Be prepared." So anything, just be prepared. That's why the scarf on the neck is something that we always have on our necks. It can be used as different things. It can be used as rope. It can be used for first aid. So it has different use. What we have some ropes we hold, like lanyards. Can also be used for first aid. It can be used as rope. It can be used as to tie packages. It can be used for different rope methods for different things. Some for saving, some for stopping a particular thing from loosening. So that's just what I'm trying to be prepared, something that you work towards. It's just like having trainings for your staff on first aid. Okay, if somebody falls down from the stairs, okay, this is what you do, that's what you do. If somebody collapses, this is what you need to do before the major help comes. So it's just like having this foreseen method of controlling situations. Then we have the response. This is just the phase that includes mobilization of necessary emergency services and first responders in the disaster or emergency areas. Whenever you have a situation in a workplace, you have your HSC officer. Your HSC officer is your first responder. So someone encountered a minor accident in the workplace area, they call on to the HSC officer or the first aider in the workplace. They handle it, and if they see that it's something that is beyond management, they have to transfer the person to another level. That's a higher level, from first aid to the hospital. So they make use of the ambulance, or the person goes there, they pick up from there. That's what response is about. Then recovery is like the aim of recovery. Recovery is to bring something, to be able to I have the idea in my head. Recover is, you want to recover something. You want to maybe collect something from something that has happened. So the aim of recovery is to restore the affected areas to its previous state before the whole disaster and emergency happens. This is what you do to put it back into the former state. That's if someone that had an accident, what you're trying to do is to put the whole situation back to how it was. Okay, putting things in order, fixing this, fixing that. So this thing was the cause of this accident. Okay, let's try and recover. Let's fix this thing so that to be like nothing happened, to go back to the initial and original state before the accident happened. That's just that about the phases of disaster management cycles. Then let me give you an example. The example I promised you earlier. For example, mitigation. Mitigation is like building a drainage system in a flood-prone community to reduce future flood risk. You know that this area, there's probability that flood will occur. So the things that you put in place, a long-term preparation and structure, you have to make sure that you build a very good drainage system. So when it even rains, the drainage system will be able to receive the waters instead of flowing to houses, destroying properties and life. There's a channeling that will happen where the whole water gather in a particular drainage and moves further to the water body, the ocean, and the other water sources that is available. We have preparedness, organizing community advocacy, creating evacuation plans before the rainy season. Okay, so this area is prone to flood. What do? Let people know that, we are moving to the rainy season. This is what we need to do. We need to clean up this place. We need to make sure that our drainages are not blocked. We need to know when there is rain, you need to call this particular number if your drainage system is blocked. You don't need to pour dirt into the drainage system, because people do that. It's during rainy season they cut away their dirt into the drainage so that the water will wash it off to another place, because it's not affecting them in their own area. It's better for them, so it can move on to other people, and that's what they call selfishness actually. But the interesting part is that thing will still come back to bite. So that's why it's advisable to just do the needful. So moving on, response. During a flood, emergency services rescue stranded individuals, set up temporary shelters, and provide food and water. There's one flooding that happened in the north. It was bad. So we have to call on emergency responders, emergency services. They have to pick up people from the water. They have to rescue people that were being affected. Maybe somebody's house is about to be washed away, there's a baby around, doing all those things to make sure that these people are being rescued. Then after the whole thing has happened, how do they feed? Where would they live? So we can build up just temporary structures till they're able to figure out what to do. Then recovery is after the flood. The government, maybe philanthropists, someone kind-hearted people, they try to repair damaged infrastructures, offer financial aid to affected families, and help restore livelihood, try to fix things back and make it better. That's just what it is about. So we have key restoration activities that precede disaster. We have rehabilitation, reconstruction, and recovery. We have key developments associated with disaster management. We have livelihood, we have reconstruction, we have opportunities. Lastly, we also still have steps in disaster management. We have vulnerability and capacity assessment. That's VCA. This is a key tool used in risk reduction planning. It helps identify what put people at risk and what strengths can help them cope. It's just finding the statistics and doing the survey, the research on what can lead people to the space of vulnerability, what can push them towards that space of vulnerability. Then the capacity is identifying the strengths, resources, and skills that people and community can use to reduce disaster impacts. Those are like the human capability, the material capability, institutional capability, social capability. So the human, that is bringing people together, workforce that can help out, materials or things we can put in place that can use to reduce the impacts. Institutional, things that maybe places that can help out, just things like that basically. So that's just that about all what we have been talking about. We've been able to touch on emergencies and disasters. We've been able to talk about how emergencies is on a small scale, disaster is on a large scale, but they're both intertwined because they are all catastrophic in nature. they cause predicaments. We talk about the causes of emergencies, as the natural and the man-made causes. We talked about the effects. We talked about disaster management cycles. We talked about steps in disaster management. We talked about key development associated with disaster management. We talked about key restoration activities that precede disaster. We talked about vulnerability and capacity assessment. So yes, that is what I interacted with recently, and I just feel like, let me share with you. Of course, I had to put them into writing for myself to put them in my words, my own explanation for easy understanding, and also for easy transference of message, for easy transference of the subject, breaking it down as easy as can be for better understanding. So yes, please share, like, comment. Let's know if you learned something new. Thank you for joining us on today's episode. I'll catch you in the next episode. Till then, bye bye for now. Cheers.